In our first story, the Court of Appeal on Monday dismissed the applications of Asin North MP Joe Jachikwesin and the MP for Jomoro, Dorcas Afo Toffee. The two embattled MPs have been fighting their dual citizenship cases after they won their parliamentary elections in the 2020 polls. In each of the cases, the applicants are challenging their qualification to contest the 2020 elections, with both basing their applications on Article 94(2), which spells out the qualifications of a member of parliament.
In the case of the Asin North MP, his appeal was for a stay of proceedings after the trial judge, Justice Kwesi Boakye, dismissed earlier appeal for stay of proceedings. Unfortunately for him, the appeals court he turned to also dismissed the application. Counsel for the petitioner raised a preliminary objection to the motion for stay of proceedings on the grounds that the Court of Appeal lacked jurisdiction to grant motions for stay of proceedings since CI 132 has revoked Rules 27A and 28 of CI 19, which were the rules upon which the Court of Appeal could grant an application for stay of proceedings. Counsel for the Asin North MP, Justine Teriwaja, argued the Court of Appeal's power to stay proceedings doesn't mean that it can no longer grant application for stay of proceedings. He further submitted that it only means that the court's power to grant application for stay of proceedings is now based only on the inherent jurisdiction of the Court of Appeal. The panel of 3 judges unanimously dismissed the application of the applicants for stay of proceedings. The judges then advised the Asin North MP to test the law at the Supreme Court in respect of his contention that despite the revocation of the rules, the Court of Appeal still has inherent jurisdiction to grant motions for stay of proceedings. The MP for Jomoro, on the other hand, had also filed an application to stay execution of the High Court's order on her to produce document evidence on the renunciation of her alleged Ivorian citizenship. Lawyer for the Jomoro MP, Godwin Eduji Tamakulu, says his client, the MP for Jomoro, has never pleaded any such document, so the High Court erred in ordering the MP to produce a document which the MP never pleaded. The Court of Appeal subsequently dismissed the appeal, directing the applicant to apply to the Electoral Commission of Ghana for a copy of the statutory declaration she attached to her document when she filed her nomination to contest the election. Representative of the applicant in the Asin North MP's case, Richard Tichimensa, says his opponents are only seeking to drag the process.
We know from day one that we put a solid case before the courts, and they are going to determine the case on its merits. But from day one, the MP for Asin North and his lawyers have been employing delay tactics. So even when they know that the application is not granted in law, they will still embark on it just to delay the case. But as I've said some time ago, and it's been said over the years, the wheels of justice grind slowly, but it shall definitely get to its destination. So tomorrow too, we are going to the Supreme Court. They filed an application there for certiorari and interpretation, and that one to appearing before the Supreme Court tomorrow.
The Supreme Court is scheduled to give its ruling on Tuesday in an application filed by the Asin North MP. The MP invoked the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court on the interpretation of Article 94(2)A and to quiet the orders of the trial court judge because, according to the MP, the judge did not allow oral submissions in the case before him. Meanwhile, the High Court in Cape Coast has slated Wednesday, 28 July, for the judgment in the Asin North MP's case. For Joy News, Richard Kwejo, Cape Coast.
Right, Richard himself joins us via Zoom. Richard, first of all, you reported that the Asin North MP is trying to get a stay of proceedings. What will this achieve for him? Right, hello. Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great. I'm asking, for the stay of proceedings, what does that mean? What does a stay of proceedings achieve for the Asin North MP?
Well, so during the pendency of the substantive matter, the lawyers for the Asin North MP wanted the judge to hold proceedings so that they could go up either to the appeals court or to the Supreme Court for the matters to be determined before they come back for the substantive matter to be heard. And so that is what the stay of proceedings meant. But it was dismissed by the High Court judge in Cape Coast, and then this has been dismissed. And another appeal has been dismissed by the Court of Appeal yesterday at the Cape Coast Appeals Court.
Right. That means that the High Court will continue with their proceedings on the initial case whilst the Member of Parliament goes to the Supreme Court to try and get a different judgment or a verdict.
Yeah, so since the appeal was dismissed by the High Court, the matter had even come to an end and the day for judgment had been given. So it was supposed to be on the 12th of July, but because of the appeal that is currently pending at the Supreme Court, and the lawyers for the Assinod MP went to the Supreme Court for some
Richard,
hello?
go ahead. Richard, go ahead.
So one, they wanted the Supreme Court to, they were invoking the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to quash the decision of the Cape Coast High Court, because according to them, the court did not allow them to have an oral submission, but rather written submissions. And secondly, they wanted the Supreme Court to interpret some provisions in the Constitution, specifically Article 94(2)(a), that spells out the qualification of who a member of parliament is. According to them, the trial court judge shouldn't have interpreted it the way he did. They feel that powers, or these powers, specifically for the Supreme Court, and so it is only the Supreme Court that has the mandate to interpret the laws. But when the matter came up, the judge said that that issue was not an ambiguous issue. It was very clear, and so there was no need for them to refer it to the Supreme Court. And so that is why they are currently at the Supreme Court. So that decision is yet to be made. I'm told that today, the Supreme Court, right about now, should be making such a decision. And tomorrow, being Wednesday, the actual judgment or the judgment of the substantive matter would come or would be heard at the Cape Coast High Court. But
Right, we seem to have lost Richard there, unfortunately, but the summary of what he was telling us is that tomorrow the Cape Coast High Court should decide in the substantive case where they're looking at the eligibility of Joe Jachikwesen to occupy that seat of Aston North MP. Let's move to other stories. And the girlfriend of the 34-year-old gym instructor who was murdered at Tantro Hill some days ago has opened up about the ordeal. In an exclusive interview with Adum News, the woman we choose to call Ikea said she felt a shadow over the window and drew her boyfriend's attention to it before the three men struggled with him, overpowered him, and shot him. She described how she tried effortlessly to stop the bleeding when the gunmen left, but to no avail. Let's now listen to Ikea, who clarified that she is not married and has been divorced for almost 8 years.
I got up and grabbed my cane and toasted. I just saw somebody at the window, peeping inside the window. At that time, what I was thinking is like, since there are boys in there, maybe somebody was just trying to, being a bad boy to see what is going on in the room, So I said, won't you go and check? He didn't answer me. Yeah, he said, I think that is just a cat, because there is some cat here who has been moved. And so I saw a human being. So I took my cane and I was going. He said, please. And he said, where are you going? Go back. And I went to I was standing there at by the bed. And I saw him grabbing a kitchen knife. He put everything down, grab a kitchen knife. And so I went on the bed, because for me, for my mind, as I said, it's just somebody trying to, and the timing too, it never crossed my mind that an armed robber can be around at that time, because it was around 12:31 thereabout. So I heard, the next thing I heard is a key crack. Then at the same time, who is that in Chi? I heard that noise. Then it's like somebody he opened the door. Then somebody at the same time tried to push, and then he pushed back. Then at the same time I heard the gunshot. Then he screaming, they shot me. He said, hey, they shot me. Then as he's talking like that with his hand on his chest, they pushed him in with the gun on him. So as I also heard, I also ran through, coming towards him. As I heard his, and they came and meet me with the gun, one on me and one on him, and another person. They pushed me back on the bed. while he was sitting, they had the gun on him with the other hand sitting on the bed. So they say, where are the phone? Where are the phone? And I gave them my phone. They say, where is the second one? I had to look for it in the bed because Little put his own on the bed with the bed sheet has gone on it. So I had to look for it and give it to them. Where is the money? We were not having any money in the house. It's just some money little left on the TV table. That one, I think they have seen it and taken it before. It's like some 100 Ghana with some coins there. So I quickly, since I was scared, quickly I said, please come and check. So I was just throwing everything out of the wardrobe for them to be sure that there's nothing, threw everything out. Then they were convinced that there's no money, so they left him there and walk out. And then I grabbed this bed sheet and tried to press on the wood for him not to bleed. I was lost. I didn't know. I was screaming for help. Then I don't also want to leave the bed sheet and go and be banging on the door. But at the time, I have to just leave it and go and bang at the door. Then they walk back inside with the gun on my head. Will you shut up? Will you shut up? Because maybe they are feeling like I'm going to alert the other people. And they remove the key out of the door. By that time, I was even hearing them in the other rooms. In the other room talking, I mean, the same way they were doing, I was hearing them even walking. I heard even they brought somebody to open his car. There was a small car to open. Whose car is it? They were asking somebody whose car is this. So when I heard that one, I went back to the hall to try to lock the door. And I saw that there is that metal thing that lock the door up. So I lock it up there. So at that time, I heard somebody coming to shake the door, but they couldn't open it at that time. So I didn't hear anybody again. Then I was there, still hearing them moving around, doing things, talking, calling even each other. I heard this name, Awuro. Then at the time I was still pressing the thing on him, but since they are there, I don't know. I didn't know. I can't open the door to. Don't know. So I was with him, and then at the time, that was like about 15 minutes past, get to 20 minutes. He's suffering.
Clinical psychologist and lecturer Hayfron says the woman needs immediate psychological assistance and support from family and friends.
She's been through a lot of trauma, and therefore she needs some psychological help. And then also, when we talk about psychological help, we're not talking about just counseling, the ordinary counseling as we usually know as Ghanaians, but she needs proper clinical counseling as well as any other help that she can get. She needs social help, she needs emotional help from her family and friends. Those who really call themselves friends, this is the time they need to show up, to show her some reason to trust in them, And then aside from that, that when we go through such problems, we go through something called post-traumatic stress disorder. And this is something that she needs a psychologist to help her overcome.
Okay.
Again, she may go through some form of depression at a point in time. And then again, she needs a psychologist to help her go through that. There are quite a number of things that she would go through. However, if she gets the right kind of support, then she'll be fine.
You're live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Daze. Now, Majority Leader Osechi Mensah-Bonsu is assuring the National Security Minister will make available to Parliament the cost of the President's latest foreign trips, insisting government has nothing to hide. The Finance Minister, in response to a question by North Tongue MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, said he does not have the figures. He said the National Security Minister is better fit to respond. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us via phone. So, Joseph, what brought this matter about in Parliament?
It's actually been at a forum organized by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs that's seeking to discuss consensus building when it comes to the political landscape generally. And the two main speakers of this particular event have been the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs and also Majority Leader, Osei Mensah-Bonsu, and Haruna Idrisu, who is the Minority Leader. They've been discussing generally what can be done to better build consensus, better build trust between majority and minority MPs, better ensure that there is the national agenda in focus, even when different political parties gather in Parliament to get government business done. And in seeking to cite one of the examples of things that the minority leader thinks government should be more transparent on, that's when he referenced the issue having to do with the president's travel, and then we subsequently got the response there from the majority leader.
Was Mr. Idrisu satisfied with this response from the majority leader?
Well, essentially, his main point has to do with the fact that governments do undertake international travels. The president does that. Sometimes it's for good of the country, something that can be explained and justified. He doesn't see any situation where the figure should be hidden, in his words, to any extent. The majority leader then makes the point that it's the appropriate individual who should be providing the necessary responses to these particular issues, and that in the House, work is done according to the standing orders and governed by various processes. Essentially, it looks like this is a conversation that would continue. These points have been raised repeatedly by the MPs on the minority side, that until they hear the specific responses on the figures, they think that government still has something to hide as far as this issue is concerned.
Thanks, Joseph, for those updates. Let's move to other stories. And consultant neurosurgeon at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Hadi Abdallah, is estimating that 10,000 Ghana cedis will be required to properly diagnose the medical condition for Gideon Apenya, the 18-year-old boy who did not grow. Joy News brought the story of how his spinal condition contracted when Gideon was 3 months old, affected his ability to develop. He's now unable to walk, talk, or eat unassisted. Here's a reminder of that story.
Gideon lives at Peki Avetile in the Volta region with his mother Doris and grandmother, who is also bedridden. 18 years ago, the 3-month-old baby was crying, eating and sleeping like any other child until things started getting worse.
No, Otiano, me man no phone. No, sir, yet is our dynamic de no to Honumpa. Now, son, I'm missing no. First one, now may be kind woman. No, one, Tissa. Until no senior or ye and Namide, who ye say, Brevi a ye, Acolan. Inti, free one, or more my date say in Sambra. Now, so yes, I am a chibe film. Now, yeah, yes, canty. I can say, Scassamina, young Fananco, Piscine.
What seemed like a routine illness has kept him in bed since then, preventing him from growing into the man he should have been by now. Caring for him has become a full-time occupation for Doris. She is unable to take up a meaningful job because her son needs her help.
First, I need to make up a job, Mamma, for a war. If you are distant, no, a move train cacra. Now, maybe war, no, 90 centi, a year, a mamma to me, call baby, me, she. If you make up baby, just say to Nisana will be a friend, say, oh, be Beshaman, Abia, a honey haya, just say me, Pessima Quachi, and Jano. Say, so come dinner. Also, and now when yes, I am Yama will be say, Abia, so come dinner.
She sells oranges for a paltry 10 Ghana cedis, which she recoups every 2 weeks. Her 18-year-old son, who should be graduating from senior high school by now, is unable to walk, talk, or feed himself. he simply did not grow. Though Doris says she no longer feels the grief and despair which greeted the news of Gideon's condition, her tears betray a deeper pain.
Sister na me no boy and me the kind wo Gideon. Ono ni dia na me de won ti de bia sese me ba no SS2. Gideon wo amuso yo bema. Nti me hunu sa na me nka me ba wo SS ana JHS. Biabiani, me size for my hammy. And so me knew be a make a catch and say, see, and be ashamed.
For Doris, there is still hope for her that her life can improve in some way and that Gideon's condition will change. Medical officers say it will be difficult for him to have the semblance of a normal life, but definitely his comfort can be improved. We wait to see what the professionals have to say, but we're hoping that tonight Gideon will sleep in peace. Daniel Daze, Joy News, Peki. Now we visited Dr. Hadi Abdallah, a consultant neurosurgeon at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, to discuss the condition. After learning of Gideon's heartbreaking condition, one thing is clear: the boy and his mother need our help. So we've come to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Ghana's largest medical facility, to meet Dr. Hadi Abdallah, a neurosurgeon who may have a solution for Gideon's condition. So you see, his legs are almost stuck.
Yeah, he's severely malnourished. I think the element of the spinal cord injury may be true, but it's when we examine him. Initially, when I saw the videos, I thought, but I mean, watching this now, I'm beginning to form the impression that probably he might have suffered either some spinal cord injury or brain injury of a sort. And it means that he needs to be properly evaluated. Looking at how the ribs are all prominent, it means there's a serious element of malnutrition, and that needs to be tackled. And I think that even if we need to do anything surgically for him, we still need to build him up. So food is important. I don't know how much he's able to take, but with the help of a dietitian, if we get a dietitian who would probably recommend the type of food he should take to build him up, that will help. With the stiffness, physiotherapy would help. So I would say that for the initial evaluation, bar consultation fee for whichever hospital he evaluated, probably if you get like 10,000 Ghana cedis, it should be adequate or enough to do like a proper assessment.
We're back as the administration block, because after our conversation with Dr. Abdallah, one question remains clear. How does a woman who sells oranges for 10 Ghana cedis foot a 10,000 cedi bill for diagnostics alone? David Lamte is the head of social welfare here at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
When such a patient comes and then we are in the noon, we will assist the patient to get the doctor to the doctor who will also assess the patient. So when the doctor assesses the patient and then find out that this is what has to be done, this is the surgery that the patient will have to undergo, this is the cost involved, he gets to our partners to see how best they can help.
I'd say it was a good visit to the hospital. Dr. Abdallah has let us know. Live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Dazi. Now, the Ghana Employers Association is urging business owners to apply protocols and guidelines outlined by the Ghana Health Service in a strict manner. The association, in a statement, also prescribed other guidelines for business owners. Here are a few of them. Now, it says, change work culture. Example, stop handshaking, workers taking lunch at their own desk or outside rather than in a cafeteria or break room, and limits the sharing of food in the workplace. It also says direct workers to stay at home or work from home if they have flu-like symptoms, irregardless of travel or contact history. It says constitute safety committees to deal with issues concerning COVID-19. And fumigate and disinfect the workplace regularly. The schedule for the fumigation and disinfection should be pasted on notice boards for the information of workers, customers, clients, and other stakeholders. And consider the introduction of appropriate shift systems for employees and allow those who can work from home to do so. Reduce physical meetings and events. Create the enabling environment for physical distancing at workplaces through demarcated intervals of at least 1 meter. Away from that story, the Lands Ministry has introduced green mining to eradicate the use of mercury in small-scale mining. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources is adopting measures to eradicate the use of mercury in small-scale mining operations. Industry players will be introduced to use commodity monitor equipment, in the extraction of gold, which is 95% effective and friendly to the environment. Deputy Sector Minister George Mekuduka says the government will provide the equipment to the miners who are expected to pay back in installments. Anaya Ojima has been monitoring a meeting between the ministry and the miners and filed this report.
Over 700 tons of mercury emissions into the atmosphere every year. Environment, science, technology and innovation, artisanal and small-scale gold mining accounts for over 700 tons of mercury emissions into the atmosphere every year. 800 tons of mercury is released to land and water. Mercury, commonly used in traction of gold ounce, when released into the environment has negative implications on human health. Under the green mining system to be introduced, the commodity monitor machine will be supplied to small-scale miners by the government. Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, George Mekuduka, explains.
Because as I speak with you, a lot of people apply mercury in mining, and that has its own ramifications. So what we intend doing is to give them a commodity mining machine where it could, one, get more gold or tract more gold, then also without mercury, so to speak, without mercury. And that machine will be distributed to these small-scale miners. They will get kind of concession from a designated bank that will negotiate with them. They give the machine out to them, then they pay them, in installments.
The Deputy Minister noted there is no ban on small-scale mining, but an intensified drive to deal with illegal mining through Operation Halt. There have been complaints that machinery of individuals mining illegally have been destroyed by the military team. Mr. Duka, however, says investigations have exonerated the team.
The complaint was as if the military erred, but when we went into details or the nitty-gritties of the matter, we realized that they didn't. I mean, they did the right thing with regards to all the regulations that they follow. So it shouldn't be rhetoric, kind of. I've told them, your license must measure what you do. You can't just say because you have a license, so you mine haphazardly. It's just like a driver having a license and driving carelessly.
Meanwhile, small-scale miners have accepted to mine responsibly as many go back to site. Abdul Razak Al-Hassan speaks for the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners.
Do the right thing. Mine responsibly. Make sure that your site is genuine. Your site looks more responsible. And we keep on, as from today, we have some ethics that everybody must follow. And then make sure that they will do the right thing.
For Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
A regional director of the World Food Programme for West and Central Africa, Chris Nikwe, has disclosed that millions of families in West and Central Africa are currently hungry due to food price hikes. Daryl Kwao has the details in business after this.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. Regional Director of the World Food Programme for West and Central Africa, Chris Nikwe, has disclosed that millions of families in West and Central Africa are currently hungry due to food price hikes. He said more than 31 million people in these regions are expected to be food insecure and unable to feed themselves from June to August this year, which is normally characterized as the lean season. More in this report by Martina Bugri.
Regional Director of the World Food Programme for West and Central Africa, Chris Nikwe, said Cardiff Harmonize, a joint food security analyst, shows that the number is more than 30% higher than last year and the highest in a decade. Speaking at the handing over ceremony of silos to small farmers in Tamale, Mr. Nikwe said conflict, hunger, high food prices, and reduced income as a result of negative impact of COVID-19 are some of the reasons for these hikes.
According to the Cardiff Harmonize, a joint food security analysis, the number is more than 30% higher than it was last year, and it is the highest level in a decade, in 10 years. Factors which have contributed to this situation include conflict, hunger, high food prices, and reduced incomes as a result of the negative impact of COVID-19 on trade, tourism, informal activities, and also remittances. I believe that Ghana has the potential to become the breadbasket for the West and Central Africa region if efforts to improve its food systems, such as some of the initiatives that WFP and government have begun, are sustained. Let me use this occasion to encourage all stakeholders in the food security and nutrition sector to increase collaboration and to build synergy for more effective delivery. To our farmers, I would like to challenge them to see themselves as business people, people who are not only producing food to feed their families, but are implementing what they have been taught in order to improve their own livelihoods. and be able to feed others on the African continent.
World Food Program representative and country director for Ghana, Rukaya Yakub, said as part of their enhanced nutrition and value chain initiative, which was implemented between 2016 and 2021, 700 units of durable, locally manufactured silos have been presented to farmers in 5 regions of Ghana.
That report was filed by Martina Bugri. In other news, technical advisor to the Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau, Mohammed Sani Adam, says investors are more likely to visit Ghana if their safety is assured. Speaking to Joy Business at a 5-day training program for investigators and staff of the Bureau, Mr. Adams said the training is a step to ensuring the safety of passengers and garner more investments in the long run.
A higher level of business transaction between countries is done by air flights. And so the business people, the investors have more confidence to travel if they are sure of their safety in the country. And indeed, the Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation Bureau provides that kind of support to ensure that there is safety in the country, there is safety in our airwaves, there is safety in our aircraft. Okay, so once this is established, then investors will have confidence, businesses will have confidence to, do the interflow to ensure that, they do their businesses. So it is a booster to, if you want, encouraging business persons that yes, Ghana is a safe place, and Ghana is a place to transact, and you may not have any problem in terms of aircraft or aviation issues. Indeed, because His Excellency the President also wants to ensure that this bureau is not only waiting for accidents and incidents. Indeed, we don't even want the accidents to occur in the first place. So there is a component that is added to this bureau, which is prevention. So the full citation of this institution is Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau. In fact, which is quite unique. If you look at the whole of the sub-region, within West Africa, we are the second. Nigeria has one, and within the whole African continent, there are about 7. But what is unique about this institution is the fact that it also has a prevention. So there will be a lot of sensitization, a lot of interaction with stakeholders to actually not even make the accidents happen in the first place.
And there's more business news coming up at the top of the hour of the marketplace. Up next, though, is Sports with Muftau.
Good afternoon and welcome to Sports on Joy News today with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Let's talk about Biabiani Gold Stars. After struggling for over 23 years in the lower ranks of Ghana football, Biabiani Gold Stars have qualified to compete in the Ghana Premier League for the first time in their history. The team, previously known as Complex Stars, changed its name to Biabiani Gold Stars in 1998 when Mensim Gold Mines took over the running of the club. The man who masterminded their success is KOBINA AMISSAH, a veteran coach noted for leading teams from the lower division to the top flight. He has been speaking to Love FM's Dale Atiase about how they were able to qualify to the country's top flight competition.
Coach KOBINA AMISSAH made the Gold Star story complete after guiding the Biabiani-based club to their first ever Premiership participation. This was the 4th time Coach KOBINA AMISSAH has led a team to qualify for the top flight. He achieved this feat earlier with Brekum Chelsea, Sekani Hazakes and Elmina Sharks. The Gold Star story, therefore, cannot be told without the mention of Coach KOBINA AMISSAH, who is now the toast of fans of the club. KOBINA AMISSAH has been sharing how he masterminded the victory and how challenging it's been coming out of the football wilderness.
Honestly, it was a very difficult season. We all know Division 1 is a place where every team is determined to qualify into the Premiership. So most of the times when you go to away games, especially away games, and you can't even put 3 or 4 passes together, and it makes the job very difficult for us as a coach at Division 1. But I can say for sure, Division 1 is a very, very difficult area where I'm happy to be the first coach to qualify from the 3 zones.
Okay, you are saying that Division 1 is difficult, but you are the only coach in the history of Ghana who has qualified 4 different teams from the lower ranks to the top flight. So, I mean, how were you able to make such an incredible record?
I realized that what I did at Bekum Chelsea, I have to try my possible best to repeat that thing at the second year Azakis. Initially, I was telling myself, can I make it this time for the second round? But I realized that in Division 1, you don't need too much kind of procession, which most of the teams I play with try to do that. But as I told you earlier on, that putting 3 or 4 or 5 passes together in some kind of pitches is difficult. So I adopted a strategy by myself that just players, let's cross the center before we do the possession. Because on our side, any player who tries to do possession, maybe you can fumble with the ball because the pitch is not all that good. So let's cross the center line and keep the possession over there. And then I give them the instruction, particular instruction, and my players listening to me.
Bekum Chelsea, the likes of Sekendi Hazakas, Elmina Sharks, and now Biabiani Gold Stars, all these teams have been qualified to the top flight of Ghana's football by this gentleman, KOBINA AMISSAH. Now let's talk about King Faisal, and owner and bankroller of the club, Alhaji Karim Gusa, has called on the Ghana Football Association to secure sponsors for the Ghana Premier League for next season. Speaking to Joy Sports' George Ado Jr., Gusa noted the lack of sponsorship has affected clubs.
They should learn football. I have 50-something years experience in football. More than that, I was 16-year-old. I started the coach team.
Wow, 16.
16, that is Bodopa.
Wow.
And then the Aston Village and Cornish Babies. Before we come as the Olympic Babies, then we changed the name to King Faisal Babies, and now we are where we are now.
Wow. So that is good. But generally, you know, you spoke about issues with money. And so I'm sure you are looking out for corporate bodies to come and help you. But that the Ghana Football Association did not get you a sponsor, you know, a cash sponsor, how worrying is that?
Well, it's worrying us too much. They should do their best this league. We shouldn't play without sponsor. How we are living in football, playing football without sponsor. As I don't know, we Ghanaians clubs, maybe some of them have money, but some of us, we are begging people and we are working, but all the football are chopping our money.
We have more sports when you join us at 2 p.m. for sports today, but for now, head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories. Coming up next is Showbiz.
This was then video cassettes, you know, and so that's where I picked up this whole movie thing, seeing
what kind of stuff were they shooting at the time?
Oh, from Chinese, you know, to Indian, to Western, cowboy, you know. But for me, what really caught my eye was that most of the time, after the movie, there's this behind the scenes, and so then you get to know the characters personalities playing some of these characters, and I realized that some of them really were not what they were playing, and it fascinated me, and so I got hooked on by then, and then it became more like a hobby. I never really saw myself one day being in front of the camera, no, because I was a bit timid, and I hardly spoke. I rather listened more, and so yeah, never saw myself.
Talking about that, really, I mean, for those who know you in private, you come across as a very quiet, shy person. So it's only when it almost seems like it's only when the lights come on that your anointing comes.
There you go. Yeah.
So what triggered the actual transition from the watching to the doing?
For me, for the best part, The few instances in school when, you know, during Easter, Christmas, you know, we have this small drama thing, and somehow I found myself in there.
On Joy News today, my name is Becky.
You're live on Joy News today, and this is where we bring this bulletin to an end. My name is Daniel Dazi. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Up next is The Marketplace. Stay with us.